Welcome to Mitchell Elf. Our theme this year is Adaptations, and this unit is Beaks, Feet, and Feathers. And this is Center 2, Mix and Match. The objective of this center is to have students explore how a bird's beak and feet are designed to work together to help it eat and survive. This is a large tabletop or floor center, and so you'll need a space to spread out because after you discuss stuff, you'll eventually spread cards like these out, or these particular ones, and do an activity that matches pictures of birds with the shape of their beaks, and then you'll swap and do the shape of their feet and what they are adapted for. So you're going to start out, as always, by with the information piece of it and getting the kids thinking. And there are some great books and some great background information in here. But the first thing you're going to do is take a look at the Did You Ever Wonder? Bird Adaptations, Beaks, Feet, and Feathers. You can read this aloud to the kids, or the kids can read it aloud. And basically it says, did you ever wonder why there are so many types of bird beaks? Scientists call them bills. The most important function of a bird bill is feeding, and it is shaped according to what that bird eats. So it talks about that, talks about characteristics, and you want to talk about that with the kids. And then it moves on to talk about feet. If you want to learn more about birds, you may want to pay attention to feet shapes. And then you can point out these feet shapes, and you're basically just starting out by discussing and getting them thinking about the idea that not all birds are the same. You can also then get out these bird adaptations cards. I believe there are about 7 of them, so there should be enough for each kid to have their own. And on one side it has beaks, and it'll tell the shape, what type of beak it is, and then what the adaptation is. And then on the other side are the feet adaptations, and again the shape, with a great picture of it, and then they name the type, and then they explain the adaptation. For the younger kids, have them take a look at the shape, and then ask them, well, what kind of shape is that? What does it look like? And have them be super descriptive, rather than just saying the beak is pointy. Have them say the beak is spear-like, and it probably could be used to stab food, and try to have them start relating to the shape of the beak to what they might hunt. So after you've kind of done that quick discussion with them to get them thinking, you can give each kid one of these cards, one of these bird adaptation cards, and ask them to describe. I think the bird card that it's talking about is actually one of these bird cards. So you can go through and give each kid one of these bird cards, and I would sort ahead of time and pick out some different ones. Like this is a hummingbird, so it's got a specifically shaped beak for getting the nectar out of flowers. The downy woodpecker has a different shaped beak because it's pecking into bark looking for bugs and insects. And then the peregrine falcon has a whole altogether different beak for tearing and grasping food. So make sure you hand each kid a different card, and then what you're going to do is ask them to describe their bird that's on their card, one of these cards, and have them kind of do it in the format that's listed on the outline. The shape of my bird's beak is, and they can refer back to the bird adaptations beaks chart, so they'll each have one of those. And the shape of my bird's feet is, and they refer to this. So for instance, if that kid had the peregrine falcon, the shape of their beak would be a shredder right there, and the shape of its feet would be grasping. And there are some clues for the adults and some cheat sheets to help you. A cheat sheet for a reference chart for the beaks and a reference chart for the feet. So you don't have to know all there is to know about birds and their feet and their beaks. So again, you're just going bit by bit, easing them into being really observant about birds and their beaks and their feet. So for the younger grades, you may want to just pick 1 or 2 cards and have them do this as a group rather than individually. So that's part 1. Part 2 is the bird sort. And the bird sort involves laying out, you can start with the beak cards, or you could start with the feet cards, whichever you like. But you lay the cards out, and they are basically just enlarged copies of these adaptations that they've already gotten familiar with. And then you pass out, you divide all these cards up. There are 50 of these cards, 51 maybe, and divide them up so each kid has about the same number. And then the kids are going to go around and look at their card. Woodpecker. What kind of beak is that? Look, right there. It's a chisel beak. So I'm going to lay that on top of there. And this hummingbird, that's a probe beak. And I'll lay that there. And the peregrine falcon is a shredder beak, and I'll lay that right there. The Stellar's jay, that is probably more like a Swiss Army knife beak. That's kind of curved, and it's multi-purpose, and you figure Stellar's jays do eat a variety of foods. So you go on like that. So every kid, so you get it all done, and they've sorted them all out, and then you talk about the results, and you talk about if everybody thinks that those match up, what everybody's choices were match up, and discuss what different birds might eat based on the shape of their beak. So it gives a little description. For instance, like the Swiss Army knife one says it eats fruit and seeds and fish and other animals. Go through each card and just kind of expand on, after you've matched actual birds with it, expand on what that bird might eat. Then you take the blue cards out and you put the green ones out, which are the feet, and you do the same exact thing, only matching feet to the pictures, and then you can have the same discussion. Overall, it helps to talk about in the end how a bird's feet play a role in what the bird eats also, and point out that if a bird has a certain beak shape, it will most likely have a corresponding foot shape. That would be a really good example with the shredder and the grasper. Those need to work together so that the birds of prey like the peregrine falcon can hunt and capture their food. Moving along, if you have time, which you probably won't, but you might, you never know, you can move on to, as always, thanks for your patience while I film this by myself. You can move on to these bird food photos, and you might leave these cards out and these pictures out, however works best for you. But with the bird food photos, you can further illustrate how birds' beak and feet work together by laying out these pictures and asking students to choose one bird card and placing it next to a food that they might eat. So, for instance, I'll keep going with my peregrine falcon because it's easy. The birds of prey could go on the food, on that particular kind of food, because it would eat rabbits. So it's yet another just mix and match kind of activity. Let's see. So the last thing you can do at the bottom is relate the bird adaptations back to the teeth and skulls unit, because birds' beaks and feet basically take the place of a mammal's teeth, and to the predator-prey unit, which was the hunter-hunted, and talk about what sort of beaks and feet do herbivore birds have versus what beaks and feet do carnivore birds have. And you could also talk a little bit about the adaptation that birds have of gizzards, that also, in addition, replaces teeth. So, and it says in that line, the gizzard grinds up food, often with the help of stones that the bird swallows. Other adaptations would include the eye placement for birds is front facing, and they have binocular vision for birds of prey, and the camouflage coloring to help birds hide from predators. Last but not least, if you have even more time, you can use any of these or incorporate any of these other outlines, how beaks and feet work together. And there's some examples of the beak and the feet and the bird. And you can incorporate this handout. You can tell what they eat by their bills and their feet. As always, there's a lot of information in here, and you are tasked with just using it the best way you can that works for you and your grade level that you're volunteering in. And so if you have any questions, you can email us at mitchellelf@gmail.com. And thanks so much.